Got a few moments here to take a few phone calls. If you want to call in, now's the time at 217-629-7970. Again, 217-629-7970. You can also email bishoponair@gmail.com, or you can find me on social media and comment live when we're on YouTube. Just search Bishop on Air, or you can comment live on Facebook as well, Bishop on Air or WMAY News. Find it and follow along each and every weekday morning. But the best way to do it is to call in live at 217-629-7970. I want to hear your thoughts on the outcome of the gun and magazine ban in the Illinois Supreme Court. Were you surprised? Did you call it how it laid out there, with Justice Rochford siding with the majority to uphold the law and Justice O'Brien siding with the dissent and making arguments about equal protections? And I really think that in our review of the arguments of perceived bias, we did delve in and found Rochford and what she had to say about certain things, but also what O'Brien had to say about certain things. And O'Brien was clear in her understanding of the importance of equal protections, and that seems to be what really the crux of her dissent was. But you've got also this idea that if Calkins can take the case of whether or not they got a fair hearing, could they take that to the U.S. Supreme Court? And if they were to essentially nullify Rochford's stance here, then that would make it a 3-3 ruling, and ultimately mean that the lower court declaring it unconstitutional would be the final decision. So obviously, some big things that still have yet to all fall into place, and this has nothing to do with the federal case. The federal case still very much is alive, and that's in front of the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. All right, let's get your calls. 217-629-7970. Getting them locked in here, so bear with me as we line those up. Good morning. You are on WMAY. What's up?
Hey, good morning.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. I've got a bus problem here. Okay, it's just feeding back a little bit. I think we're good. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning. I just want to make sure that we're clear. They didn't rule on the constitutionality of the Second Amendment rights. They just ruled on the constitutionality of the Equal Protection Clause. Is that correct?
That is correct. And that's always been kind of the case here, is the federal case is dealing with the Second Amendment arguments in the U.S. Constitution. The state level cases always dealt with the classes of who could and who could not own these firearms per Illinois statute.
Okay, so they're carving out special interests between groups now, saying it's constitutional. And did they outline what they consider a special legislative session? Did they outline what they consider special groups or citizens? Can you outline that more? Were you able to?
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, if you look at the dissent and the majority opinion, they do talk about how the class of law enforcement, retired law enforcement, those in the security sector, that's carved out in the law. They ultimately said that they have training. They go through training. Now, we don't know what level of training that the law spells out, because it doesn't spell out that training. And that's something that Tom DeVore is going after and trying to get the evidence to show that was slapped together last minute as they rushed this bill through in the matter of, 2 or 3 days to get it on the governor's desk and signed. So, yeah, the question about what level of training, what constitutes a retired law enforcement officer who's been retired for 15 years being able to have these, does he still have the same level of training that a regular citizen who's not a part of the military or law enforcement getting training?
And thank you for outlining that. My only thing I wanted to call up about is, if that's what they ruled on, then please outline the path that I can get these weapons or keep them through the training. Please outline.
I don't think you can. And here's the step. Here's the step for you. Go and be a law enforcement officer. Go get deputized by the sheriff. Just have the sheriff anoint you with, tap on each shoulder with the sword and say you're now deputized. That could be a step, I guess. And then you could retire after a few days.
Active duty military. If active duty military is currently slinging arms as their main MOS, Are they allowed to carry that over in the civilian sector here in Illinois? Or is it only for law enforcement?
Yeah, and it's law enforcement and retired law enforcement. I believe active duty military in the duties of their job. Those in the security space, prison wardens, jail guards, private security, and so on. Those are the types of classes that are spelled out in here. And yeah, I think this obviously is an interesting question. Even now, when you bring in the issue of non-citizens being allowed to become police officers in Illinois. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed that bill a couple of weeks ago. And what that does is it raises the question for a lot of people. So you're telling me now, and this is what I'm seeing online from a lot of you who are commenting, you're telling me that a non-citizen can come to Illinois, become a police officer, and own a semi-automatic firearm that a non-police regular citizen who's born in this country can't. So the conflict there, the cognitive dissonance there, has a lot of people just completely baffled as to what exactly is happening here in the state of Illinois. All right, good morning. You're on WMAY.
I'm sorry. Somebody just pulled out in front of me.
Well, be careful.
No, you know what? We're under no obligation to obey any of their laws of these gangsters from Chicago. I don't give a damn what Pritzker says to anybody else. If I want an AR-15 or an AK-47, I'll go out and get one, or anything else on that damn list. Constitution says you have a right to bear arms and defend yourself. I'm not going to let some fat clown from Chicago dictate to me how I'm going to live.
Well, again, we open up the phone line so that people can sound off, and that's the sentiment of one individual. I will say, good luck trying to get a AR-15 or an AK-47 in Illinois unless you're law enforcement. And even then, is a gun store going to be around in the state of Illinois to even do that? We'll talk about the gun industry and how the governor signed yet another law over the weekend regulating the gun industry, essentially saying that, hey, you can be sued now for creating an unsafe environment or for advertising to kids or advertising paramilitary themes. I wonder what that does to, the National Guard saying, hey, join the National Guard, do what we do. Is that also fall into this? Obviously, overarching questions, we don't know. We'll get to that coming up, all right? We'll talk about that measure the governor signed, hear the proponents, and then also I chatted with Todd Vandermeide. We'll hear his thoughts on that as well. Good morning. You're on WMAY real quick before the news.
Morning, Greg.
Hey.
I'd like to address the issue as far as the governor signed that bill into law. He violated PLACA, which is actually 2005 federal law. You can look it up online.
Yep.
It literally violates that statute, and he just doesn't seem to care. Because funny thing, out of California 4 weeks ago, they actually struck down their similar statute that was at the District of California, and it was the 9th District of California. Last time I checked, and the state really needs to get its shit together because as far as the ban is concerned, you got the three readings ground rule, you got the Fifth Amendment violation. So, I mean, as far as Calkins is concerned, guys, we got to tell Calkins not to get part of this because he's done. He's done enough damage. Tom DeVore is the guy we got to be following.
So you don't even think that Calkins should pursue the Caperton challenge at the U.S. Supreme Court?
He's done enough damage to our case. Why would we have him? Tom DeVore is the one that's on lead on this.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if DeVore is going to motion for, say, Rochford to recuse herself if indeed the case, DeVore's case, gets all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court. And that's not even guaranteed yet, right? I mean, the Illinois Supreme Court could just deny to take it up if it goes through the process. So we'll be watching all of this closely. I appreciate the call.
Address one thing.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
One more thing.
Yep.
As far as Calkins is concerned, he keeps bringing up the Floyd card. Calkins, the Floyd is already in the state court being challenged under the constitutionality. So every time we keep bringing it up, it's like, dude, Constitution. Floyd cards are unconstitutional since day one. This country was actually even founded in 1791. So, yeah, Calkins, we're not going to support on that matter.
Got you down. All right, appreciate the call. I shouldn't take this, but I'm going to. One last call. I'm giving you, let's say, 20 seconds. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. You know, if people don't like the laws that the Democratic legislature and the Democratic governor have put into effect in the state, they can elect some different people, or you can move to frickin' Florida, or just keep whining.
or to Missouri or Tennessee or a whole host of other states that a lot of people are already moving to. Illinois has an outbound migration issue. We're leading the country behind only New York and California of people leaving the state. Are they doing it because of the weather? Or are they doing it because of jobs? Or, as I'm seeing on comments online, a lot of people saying that they're done with Illinois because of these types of policies. So, yeah, people do want to leave the state of Illinois. Appreciate the calls on all of this. Of course, you can always chime in at 217-629-7977.